This is Suspenders Unbuttoned, a podcast where friends talk with friends about TV, movies, and books. Hi, I'm Julie from Suspenders Unbuttoned podcast, and clearly today we're not getting any music. So.
No, we just had the music.
But whatever, here we go.
I'm Sarah. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Maybe tomorrow we'll get it right. We're excited to have Cory Lee join us on our podcast today.
Hi, Cory.
Hi, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for being here and taking the time out of your day. We are so excited about this new movie coming out, My Grown Up Christmas List, that airs this Saturday on Hallmark. Can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved in the project?
Oh, wow. So the director who you talked with the other day, Andrew, and I have worked together a few times. Actually, Andrew was the first director to ever put me in an MOW. So shouts out to Andrew.
All right.
And I auditioned for the role is really kind of how it all came about. But I'd worked with Andrew before, and I'm sure he told you, but I'm also in Corgi Christmas.
Yeah, we remember.
Right?
Yep.
We know.
So yeah, and I've actually worked with that production company before a bunch of times, Fireside, based out of Ottawa. So it's always a good happy vibe going back there and shooting something.
Yeah, is that more comfortable when you get to shoot with people and that you've worked with before?
Oh, definitely. Especially because these MOWs shoot so fast. They shoot between, as you probably know, like 12 and 15 shoot days. So, if you're working with a production company that you haven't worked with before, there's always a little first day jitters until you can kind of like feel people out. And it's obviously really nice to work with people that support you. Oh, hello.
Okay. Shut the door.
Little ones at home.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good. So yeah, no, it is lovely working with production companies and directors and actors that you've worked with.
So that's super fun to get to work with the same people again. So this script is a little unique. We've heard this from a few different people. So what's something about this script that you really enjoyed?
It's definitely my first MOW dealing with like military type kind of stuff. So I thought that was an interesting angle. Like I know they've done like Hallmark and Lifetime have done obviously MOWs that have like surrounded, the storyline around a military type situation, but it's definitely my first one.
How is it different? You do a lot of these movies. So to have a movie that spans over so many years, is that different than, does it feel different when you're you're doing your job and you're taking on this character than when you're just doing the typical movie, which, usually spans over months and not years?
Yeah, it's the same to me. If anyone has a harder time, it's like continuity and wardrobe because they have to really make sure like, okay, today we're shooting, something present tense plus 10 years ago, and they have to like match everything. And I think they have the hardest time in terms of like time cuts, especially like years, especially if you like say change the actor's hair, because then like a whole other, ball of continuity that they have to worry about. And because we shoot them so fast, we're like flip-flopping between like different scenes all the time. So in one shoot day we might be doing current day plus like a year ago, and I didn't really have tons of in the movie like time cuts. I was in different time areas, but they had obviously more going on in terms of the time than I did.
The changing of the time. And you play Bonnie. Right. Okay. So Bonnie is, I'm assuming, the best friend of Taylor.
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Sassy best friend, which is my favorite.
A sassy friend. We love a sassy best friend.
MOW world, there's usually always some sort of bestie or sister or coworker that helps move the story along. I like to kind of think of it like the best friend is usually what the audience is thinking, because she's always like,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? He's amazing. Like, of course he likes you. Like, these are all very similar themes that kind of like roll through a lot of different MOWs. But I like that. I try and think about that when I'm, playing the bestie.
So,
So we know. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Julie. Go ahead.
yeah, sure. What makes Bonnie unique then as a bestie?
Oh man, I mean, she's a ride or die. She's like doing all the
Oh.
things. I mean, she goes back home with her. Like, clearly she's like, like a soul sister.
Okay, I love that. I love that she's a ride or die, because sometimes they miss it on the bestie or the sister or whatever, because they're not the ride or die, and you lie.
Oh no, she went down.
LOL surprise boxes, what you use when you're at a children's hospital. Yeah, no, I love that. That gives her like maybe a little stronger focus if she's got ride or die bestie.
Yeah, well, she's looking out for her, for Kayla's character, and yeah, and obviously we shot it in. Actually, fun fact: this is the first Christmas MOW that I've ever shot in December.
Yeah.
Where it was cold.
It was so cold.
We heard about that.
Was one of the coldest shoot days I've ever had. One of the outdoor scenes, it was like -30 with wind chill, and I was not in adequate clothing, and it was brutal. It was one of the harder exterior shoot days I've had in my career, but it looks great, and that's all that matters.
But that gets dangerous actually when you're shooting when it's that cold. So that's Celsius, but that's still below 0 Fahrenheit. For those that want a quick conversion, that's cold, and when the wind's blowing, you'll feel it. So
it was brutal. It was really brutal. It wasn't my funnest day on set.
Now we got snow gear on.
You posted a picture in like a really beautiful gown and like with a wrap. Was that your?
That was the exterior day.
I had a feeling, yes.
Well, there was a few exterior days, but at least those exterior days I was in like, a coat. And so I had like, a million hot shots like in my pockets and clothes. But like, there was no hiding any the only thing I could wear, because it was a gown, was pants. So I had like super winter sweatpants underneath this like, beautiful gown.
Gown with sweatpants.
It was brutal. It was really cold.
That's funny. Well, all right. So without giving anything away, we know that the best friend role, that role is always really pivotal to, like you mentioned beforehand, moving the story along. So can you give us like a little tease on how Bonnie is, so important to this story?
I mean, there's always like to move the story along as well. Like, it's like Kayla's character, obviously, like there's always a sounding board character where she can like, or most leads are like, are you sure? Or like, maybe it's not going to work. And, so they have to, again, they just have to be that voice of reason. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you love him. He loves you. And yeah, I mean, it was really fun to shoot. So, and another fun fact, my husband, who's an actor, was in Feeling Butterflies.
I know.
So Ish, her husband is Ish Morris, in case you don't know.
And that was just a giant coincidence, I imagine, right? Like,
I mean, again, he auditioned for the role. It was the same production company in Ottawa that shot that movie. So it's just, it's one big, small, but huge kind of network of actors in Canada, really.
That was fun.
And he played Kayla's bestie also. So that's.
Yeah, we were sending him lots of ugly photos of us on set.
I'm sure they were not ugly.
I'm sure they were stunning. Stunning.
You were beautiful. That's funny. So tell us if oh geez. Okay.
Sorry.
What is happening?
Do you have a favorite scene or moment we should look for in the movie?
Sorry, say that again. It cut out.
Do you have a favorite scene or moment we should look for in the movie? People like looking for details or anything.
Like a little Easter egg.
Oh wow. Well, what's really interesting, I'll say what my favorite scene is in the movie after, but since there's like a lot of kind of specific areas in Ottawa that they shoot a lot of MOWs in, where we like base camp was for my grown up Christmas list was the base camp for another MOW that I had shot like a year previous. So it actually was like kind of like an interesting deja vu. So that MOW was called My Evil Twin. It aired on
Okay.
Lifetime. It was a thriller. So if you look, if you look closely, some of the locations are the same in my grown up Christmas list and Evil Twin, which I'm in both of them. So it was that was always really interesting to me. But I think my favorite scene to shoot, I think my favorite two scenes to shoot was when we go to her father's like store, because it was literally this like super cute. I don't want to give anything away. Store. I don't want to say
Grandpa Frank.
It was just so like picture perfect for that, like beautiful Christmas MOW world. And then we have a really fun coffee shop scene that I don't know what they ended up keeping. I actually haven't seen the edit, but on set, a lot of times we get to like ad lib, and sometimes we'll do like alt lines. And Bonnie got to say some funny stuff in that scene. So I'm curious like how much they kept, because some of it was, I don't know, not as safe as some other W's, but
I like it. We're pushing things a little.
Yeah, and talking over coffee. I just feel like you could just sit there and be very natural and just let them film.
Yeah, it was fun. It was very fun. But yeah, no, to go back to what you said, I am very much enjoying that MOWs are kind of like spreading their wings a little in terms of casting and storylines, because, traditionally things were very safe, as, I would say. So I am enjoying the spreading of the wings in the MOW world. There's so much, exciting stories that can be told that, aren't as safe as, because we still have those fun, safe ones too. And they're beautiful and they're awesome to watch, but
Right. And you can still have a safe movie, but push things a little bit more than, we were seeing before. Have you, like, what stands out to you as an actor and seeing, things start to have this little bit of a shift?
I mean,
like noticing it in the script or...
So scripts are definitely changing. Like I remember, oh gosh, like 5 years ago, they didn't even really want to talk about alcohol. Like it's really, they didn't want to say the word divorce. You know what I mean? Like, and it's definitely like they're broadening their wings there. But for me, so I'm half Chinese, half German. And like when I first started acting as, a little girl, like literally my first agent said I wouldn't go for lead roles because that was the temperature of the industry, many moons ago. And now, like, so I just shot my first #1 of an MOW.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So
okay, is this the one I'm getting messages about?
Totally. So we shot it under the name of 12 Treats of Christmas, but I'm pretty sure it's changing to Baking All the Way.
Okay. Baking All the Way is the one I've been getting.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, tell us about that too.
I love the MOW world. Like I love it. I love working in it. And, I've been so blessed in COVID to shoot a lot. And, it's a beautiful place. And, COVID gave me my first #1. So, blessings. And so, yeah, it's, again, like you're not allowed to talk. So basically the movie starts and my character is almost like a celebrity chef.
Oh,
okay.
And she's working on a new cookbook. But this cookbook, she wants to like highlight other bakeries and people. And essentially I'm on the hunt for, this sounds so morbid, but like my late mother's gingerbread recipe, which was very special.
Oh yeah.
And I find one essentially, and I go on
a super handsome Man.
I go on a hunt to track it down. Essentially, that's kind of where the movie starts, and then things unfold from there. But yeah, I have like 5 MOWs like shot and edited and like coming out in the next like few months. So
You are busy. I was looking through your things.
Yeah,
Like, oh my goodness.
I'm so blessed, and I just love working, and I do love MOWs. They're just so fun. And as I said, they shoot really quickly. So it's kind of like an intense, roller coaster when you like learning the lines, because, it shoots so fast, and then like shooting them, and then it's over. And you almost like go through withdrawal because it's like so much work and so intense for like a solid.
Kind of like all this adrenaline for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then it's over. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and also like, since they do shoot so fast, and like, when you are number 1 or 2 or 3 and you have a lot of lines, you have to know all of those beforehand. And, so people don't always take into account that like you need a week or 2, or depending on how crazy it is, 3 weeks to prep before you even go to camera. So yeah, so it's more than say 15 shoot days for sure, because that's just the 15 shoot days of just shooting it.
Right. Not all the prep and costumes and all that. Do you have any idea when Baking All the Way is coming out, or where it's
slated to come out this Christmas on Lifetime? But I mean, it's hard to know. Things change all the time, and this is what I've been told most likely is the case.
Okay,
so
we'll they'll announce their lineup. We'll be able to find it.
Yeah. They'll announce the lineup, and we'll find out. Well, no, I'll know before then. So will all 5 of your movies that you've shot roll out this year? Do you expect them all to roll out this year? That is the plan. That is what I've been told. I mean, like you can literally go on my IMDb and see.
We did.
Like, yeah. So I have one called Styled with Love that I know is coming out soon, which is super cute rom-com. I also have another Christmas movie where I'm like the sassy best friend called The Christmas Masquerade. I'm not quite sure where it's gone either. Oh, wow, my brain. Because it's always interesting, because usually the names change from like what you shoot it under, because networks have final approval.
Okay, yep.
So I'm not 100% sure like what all of them have changed to. So I know Styled with Love stayed Styled with Love, and then Christmas Masquerade, we shot it under a different name, but they just announced that they've changed the name.
Okay.
So,
that's so exciting.
That is exciting to have so many things coming out, and blessing to be able to work so much when others were struggling to work there for a while.
Yeah, no, I am blessed. Like, when everything shut down in 2020, I didn't know what was going to happen to my career, really. Like, no one really did. And when everything kind of came back, like summer 2020, I was blessed to just kind of start working, because I was worried. I definitely was worried.
Yeah, I think you weren't alone in that. Probably everybody.
Right.
So we can.
I mean, so many people can relate to that in all their jobs, being worried about how that was going to work, or working in a different way, or to audition virtually for.
Oh yeah, virtual auditions and self-tapes are like the way now. Like, where before COVID, obviously we would be going into the audition room. So it's like very much shifted how the audition process has gone. And, there's pros and cons about everything, literally everything in life. And, it is awesome to, self-tape in your home, like in your underwear and like or something.
Nice
but yeah, exactly. But you don't really get as much direction like you would if you go into the room, that. And, since casting directors aren't having to like sit through all the auditions, they ask a lot more people. They give you a lot more lines.
Right.
Like,
so it's essentially a lot more work.
Right. It is a lot more work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And you have to all of a sudden, get a great ring light and have a great camera and get a backdrop, and literally like, not only are you the actor, but you're like the director, the sound person, the editor, like you're literally, it's tasked upon you. And then it's like, you have to rise to the occasion, because a good self-tape, I mean, obviously you can see someone's performance through however the condition of the self-tape is but it's just another thing that shows casting and production and directors that like, this is what I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, when
Right.
you have a
And
good
it-
setup,
yeah.
it's just that nice reflection of, you know, like, this is, I'm an actor.
Right. Right. Do you miss that connection though when you're in the same room as everybody?
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. And it was also a beautiful way to always kind of stay connected with your peers, because
Mm.
you would see people in the waiting room. You would
Right.
get to be, oh my God, hi, like, how are you doing? Like, unless I make the plans or I'm booked on the same projects, I don't see as many of my actor friends.
Okay.
Right. Right.
Plus, when you're working, it's like, it's your responsibility to be as safe as possible. So
Right.
it's like, I kind of, both of us, Ish and I, because he's, you know, an actor too. So
Mhm.
basically when one of us is working, it's lockdown, right? Because we
Right.
get tested every day. Like, there's no, you know, messing around. And why would
Right.
you? Because like, it's your career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
If you're positive, you're off the set, right? So
oh, totally. Yeah, it's worth it, because like, working is the payoff, you know,
Right.
of it all. Literally, it's like, oh, this is why I did, you know, like 30 crazy self tapes the last month. Like, oh, this is why I do what I do, because on set it's just such a awesome, like, oh, I get to say lines and be creative and like do cool stuff and get paid
Yeah.
for it. It's such a blessed life. I don't mean to keep using the word blessed, but it really
No.
is.
no.
And I do feel grateful that like, this is what I do. You know, I'm an
Yeah.
actor, I do music, like, this is what I've always done. And I couldn't imagine a different life.
I saw in one of your Instagram posts, I think it was, and you called yourself a storyteller, and that you
Yes.
were born a storyteller. And I just loved that. And
Yeah.
it made me excited to chat with you today. So tell
Yeah.
us, what is it about storytelling? Because, you know, we'll talk about your music in a little bit too, but, you know, you do music, you act, so you are always telling a story. So what is it about telling stories that's fulfilling to you?
I just love listening to music or like watching a movie or television, and it just makes me feel things, you know? So that's literally my goal, is to like make people feel things. So whether it's, you know, a song I've done or a movie I've done or whatever, it's just like, I hope, you know, when like all of a sudden out of nowhere, you almost get like hit with a spark of inspiration. And it's like, it could be anything you're doing.
Yeah.
It could come out of anywhere, like a dog, or for me, it's mostly like music and television. But
Yeah.
when that hit comes in and you're just like, oh, I need to do something. I need to, you know, write. For me, I'm always like, I need to write a song, or I need to like write a movie. But like, that's such a beautiful thing. And I always like put out to the world and the universe. I just want to like make people feel things and to be inspired to like live their best life, because that's how we all should be, and just be kind humans. And, you know,
Right.
I see so many of my friends too, and, you know, fellow actors, it's like, we can do anything. That's the joy. It's like, we really can. If we put our brains and our minds and our visions, and our energies into something, like, we can do it.
Make it
So
happen. Yeah. So how did you get to acting? Like, I see like that probably was like living that story life, or it was probably something that just came to you naturally as a kid. How did your path to acting go?
Oh, wow. How long do we have? No.
We got
I'll
time.
make it a
No
short
rush.
story. I started singing professionally at a really young age.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that really started. And it was honestly, in my household, we were very musical. My Chinese mom made me play the piano and then the violin.
Then she
And
did.
then really like, I want to just sing. And she like enrolled me in like a musical theater kind of summer camp. I was 10, I remember. And I knew that like, and for many years, I thought like professional musical theater was going to be my route.
Right.
My first love, singing, acting, and dancing, like all three together.
Yeah.
And then I started doing some professional musicals. So when I was 12, I did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Fun. Yeah.
Very lovely.
Go, Joe.
Yeah, go, Joseph. And literally, a very big Vancouver agent. I'm from Vancouver originally.
Yeah.
A very big Vancouver agent came backstage and he was like, you, and he pointed to me and he was like, I want to sign you and you're an actor. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. Let's do that. So off I went, 12 years old. As I was saying, he told me, it was actually a big shock. He's like, oh yeah, you can't go for white roles. Like you'll go for Asian roles. So he changed my name. Cory Lee is my stage name.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm half Chinese, half German. So I have
you've got a German last name, actually.
I have a German last name, exactly. So he was like, we're not going by this. He's like, you're Asian. You're going to go for Asian roles. It was way more segregated back then, I feel, in terms of like the breakdowns. It was very much white or Asian or black, where now it's like a beautiful open ethnicity situation.
Yes.
Anyway, so
yes.
Yeah. So he started sending me out to auditions. I started acting then. I did like a couple commercials and, I had like one line or two lines and a bunch of things. And then my singing career started kind of taking off. So long story short, I put out a bunch of albums in Canada. My first album ended up doing well. Again, praise the Lord. And I was nominated for a Juno, which is, I guess you would equivalent it to like the Grammys, but obviously
wow,
the Grammys are like top tier, American, where in Canada, there's not as many recording artists. So
to be nominated for an award at that. Yeah, right. You're getting right.
My first album did really well, like on the radio, and had some like music videos that had like played a lot on Much Music, which was like our MTV. Right. Anyway, so at the Junos, and again, I was still living in Vancouver at the time.
How old were you when you were nominated?
Oh Lord, I was young. I was like early 20s.
Wow.
So I met a TV producer at the Junos. His name was Steven Stone, who I owe my career to. And he asked me if I could act. And I was like, oh, I do act. And literally like a week later, I was screen testing for a TV show that shot in Toronto, which is kind of what prompted literally the shift in everything in my life, I feel. Because I went from only really wanting to focus on music for many years to then all of a sudden being a lead on a series.
Is this Degrassi?
This was Instant Star.
Okay.
Yeah, 2006. Again, I've such a long story. So anyway, so that really is
Keep going. Yeah.
Changed everything in my life. I was also like signed to a label at that point out of Toronto.
Okay.
So I was very much like acting and doing music full time for many moons. But that's like what prompted me to move to Toronto. And yeah, it was literally a huge change in my life in many. I met my husband literally that first year.
Wow.
I know, like, it was like, oh, it was meant to be, at the time, everything feels so scary. Like, well, I got to move to a new city. I don't know anyone. But yeah, everything happens for a reason. And my life literally 180'd. I was living in Vancouver at the time, focusing on music. And then all of a sudden, I'm here in Toronto doing like a lot of other different things. And, that really solidified my acting career, obviously, like being a lead on a series.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've stayed in Toronto ever since. People keep hiring me. So I like it.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you are very busy. You have tons of credits. Yes.
Yeah. So you still have music. You're still putting out music.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
where can people find your music?
I mean, there's definitely lots of music videos on YouTube. Spotify has a bunch of kind of my more recent album stuff. But I mean, obviously, because, acting is really my like sole focus and has been now for the last probably, I'd say 5 years. So I still do music, and Ish and I actually write a lot of music for licensing. So like we get a lot of placements in like TV shows and movies.
Wow.
And stuff. Yeah. So that's really where the money is. And, the music industry has just shifted so much from like the early 2000s. Like you can't even compare it. So, if you're not constantly touring or have some sort of magical sponsorship, like the money in music is just it's just a lot harder, you know, it's a lot
Right.
more confusing. Again, I don't want to bore anyone, but like it's just a
This
whole
isn't boring.
different
Yeah.
ball game of the world. But yeah, I love music. I call it the love of my life. You know, I'll never stop making music. I put out usually a song or two every year. So
Mhm.
actually in the Christmas movie where I'm the number one, they asked me to write a Christmas song. So I'm actually going to put out a Christmas song this year. That's
Wow.
Awesome.
yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
something that I wrote and it's in the movie and I'm very proud about that. I've never done a Christmas song before and it was
I
so
think
cool.
that is so amazing. And I also think that all of you, I mean, everybody we've talked to that's kind of in this movie of the week world, you're all so talented. And there's always not just acting, you know, and I think it's great that they're using that. We're starting to see that happen more.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, it's really all about eyes in this like viral social media world, right? So it's like the most eyes you can get, positive, and when you're a creative, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's kind of who you are, and it like bursts out of your seams. And in acting, like when you're slow and you're not on set getting those, you know, awesome vibes, it's a dark place, you know. I've been there, and you really have to kind of maintain your sanity, have other creative outlets.
Right.
Right.
And
We as viewers, we love being able to see the multifaceted pieces. So like saying that you wrote the song and you performed the song and the movie you're acting as the number one, that's like a hook for us. We're like,
Right.
yeah, we're in, we're tracking it down.
well, I'll have to come back if you'll have me,
Absolutely.
like
Yes.
near Christmas or whenever.
Yeah.
Like
Or whenever they announce it.
For one
Yeah.
of your like 16 Christmas movies coming out this year.
I pray, honestly, I pray that I run Christmas, because it's, again, it's all about eyes, and it's all about people seeing, you know, what you can do, and that,
Right.
you know, and again, I truly believe in this acting world, like being a joy to work with, I think is trumps the talent, you know, because if you're not fun to work with,
Yeah.
Right.
you ain't getting hired again. And
Right.
I really like manifest and put out to the world that I try and bring like my most happy and positive and just like awesome self to set, and like spread those vibes to everyone,
Yeah.
because you know it's just so much funner to like work with an actor that does that than someone
Right.
that would not be as happy to be there.
Especially
Right.
when you're so immersed with each other for such a set number of days, right?
Oh yeah, and like in the MOW world, it is an interesting bag, because there's a lot of actors that I've worked with like numerous times. So, and I love that. Same with directors, production companies. Like as I said, like with Growing Up Christmas List, like I've shot. Actually, here's another fun fact: Fireside Productions also did the first Matchmaker Mysteries I was in.
Oh, fun.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
you
did.
worked with them many times then.
Yeah, so I've worked with them many times, and I love them. They're, you know, a well-oiled machine. You know, that's what they do. They pretty much only do MOWs, so you know they know the locations and the people, and they, you know, they got it down. But there's a lot of production companies like that, because MOWs are so popular. Like even in Ontario, there's a bunch of production companies that pretty much solely do MOWs.
Yeah, that whole little world is fascinating to me, and I love learning all these little things. You know, I'm over here in my closet in the basement. It's a whole new world. I love it. I wanted to ask you about your movie coming out where you're the lead, and how did that feel to first of all to get that, and then secondly, like we obviously it's a lot more because you're in every scene and all that,
Yeah.
but like tell us a little bit about the difference between, you know, being the best friend that everybody
number 1 or
loves.
number 3.
Yeah.
Oh man. So nobody works harder on an MOW set than the number one. 100%, because they're always on. They're literally like immersed in every scene, and like the Baking All the Way, I was in every scene but 2, which is very rare. Usually the number 1 is kind of not in a few scenes.
Right.
Because there's usually like a strong kind of B plot that usually focuses around the lead man.
Right.
That's kind of like the traditional MOW script way. so obviously, like in my growing up Christmas list, they do focus on Kevin, in the military. I won't
Right.
say, but like, so they did do a bunch of days there. So, Kayla got a day or two off.
Right.
So I had no days off. And it was honestly, I knew what I was in for because I had shot so many, like and honestly being on Degrassi, it's so interesting, really prepped me for like the MOW world because we shot so quickly. It was the first time it was, I joined Degrassi the year they went like from traditional film to digital. So that obviously like that shift changed the game in terms of all television and movies. But all of a sudden, they're shooting the rehearsal because they can. Do you know what I mean? On traditional film, they wouldn't do that because film's expensive. Right. So it was literally like, you have to show up, know your lines like the back of your hand, and be prepared to just like get into it right away. And that was the first time I ever had shot anything like that because I'd always shot things that were on film before, where on film, you'd have a rehearsal, then you would have another rehearsal. So the camera really knew what it was going to do. And because of that, you're kind of like working through the lines, you're kind of working through the beats. So it was really my crash course in super fast filming. And that's literally the MOW way. So in Baking All the Way, I knew what I was in for. And like, I knew I wanted to be my best self the whole time and be like extra present, not only for myself, but for like the other actors in the scene.
Yeah.
So I actually took 2 weeks off leading up to the first camera day to literally like pound my lines, like the most I've ever pounded my lines before. Literally, it was like my full-time job. I would just like go into the bedroom for like 4 hours every day and just like read the script over and over and over and over again, because it's really tough to be fully present in a scene when you're still thinking about the lines.
About your lines. Yeah. Is that how you learn your lines? You just keep reading?
I mean, there's lots of different methods, but yeah, I usually kind of like read it over and over and over. And then I start, it's called like the add-on method. So you like learn the first line, you learn it, you say it out loud a bunch of times, and then you just keep adding on slowly.
Right.
And then the real game changer for like actors in terms of learning lines, I do voice notes of like the other lines and leave like the space for my own lines. That's kind of like the way that we do it now. So you can just keep running it over and over and over and over and over and over and like trying different things and like learning the pacing. And so that's what I love. That when I can get to that point where like I'm pretty much off book and I can really just like pound it with myself, that's like that's my favorite place for sure.
Yeah. When you're over prepared. Everyone likes to be over prepared.
Well, and I get nervous. I get really nervous. I always have. And I feel like the only way to really combat nerves is to like know that you are prepared.
Right. Right.
So I over prepare, like way over. Sometimes if it's like super high stakes. So, and obviously like being a number one, like, I want to be amazing. Yeah. So I want to be overly prepared.
Yeah. Right.
I can't believe that you still get nervous after all these years.
I mean, different roles definitely are different. There's like, we call them, Ish and I call them like vacation days, where it's like a low pressure day where maybe you don't have as many lines, or like those are lovely. And, you don't get nervous for those. But, if you have like 5 big scenes where maybe you got to cry in one and maybe you got to like make out in that last one, you're like, oh, wow, this is a big day. Got a lot of stuff going on.
Or you could make out in the last one. I just caught
that.
You
know what I mean? Like, it's like, and I feel like making a kiss look really natural is hard. Like, you really have to like.
Yeah, and some people don't do it well. So
no, they don't.
Yeah.
It's like the other thing that's very hard to play on camera is drunk.
Oh,
is
for sure because it's overacted.
Hard. Yeah. It's like you have to find that sweet spot of just being like slightly inebriated, but not really. Like it's really hard.
And I've never thought about that because
it's so every time I get an audition and it's like blah 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 blah, slightly inebriated, I'm like, oh Lord, how am I gonna feel? How am I gonna make it feel? It's hard. Yeah, so doing like a proper kiss, like where it looks like passionate but still like soft and romantic, like the MOW way, is not easy.
No, because it's not natural. So that's not how people actually kiss in real life.
No.
But so an on-screen kiss and a real kiss are two completely different
things.
Right. And I will also tell you, we appreciate the effort you put into a good kiss. So,
I've seen a rough cut of Baking All the Way, and I have to say, our
It's
just looks really good.
Ooh.
Because you never know. And you never know what they choose in editing. That's the other hard part.
Right.
Like, I just you do a bunch of takes. So you're like, which one did they choose?
Right.
So I haven't seen my grown-up Christmas list at all. I did a bunch of ADR, which is kind of standard after you've shot the movie, you go in and do additional dialogue recording. So I'd seen a couple scenes and it looks amazing. I mean, Andrew obviously is a seasoned vet. He's shot so many movies. He knows what he's doing, and as I said, Fireside knows what they're doing. So yeah, I was like, wow, it looks so pretty. Like, yeah, it looks really good.
One of the things when we talked with him is that, and Kayla and Kevin said, it's like the set went on forever because it was actually wintertime. So
that's the thing. And usually you're in it's summer and you're in like a parka and you're sweating buckets, and you're like tanned because you went to the beach on the weekend. That's like the usual like Christmas movie way. So that's why I said it's very rare that you shoot a Christmas movie in December. I've never, it's the first one ever. And like, again, I'm really lucky. I've been in a lot of like holidays, MOWs, and I've never shot in December ever.
Were you surprised that it's coming out in July?
I was, obviously, because is this the first time Hallmark has debuted new holiday movies in their Christmas in July?
I don't think so.
But I think last year they debuted one, and this year 3.
Because they always bring it back in the summer, which is lovely. Because there's obviously so many, and there's so many. So like, give them another opportunity to shine. But yeah, I didn't know 3. There's 3 new ones.
Yeah, there's 3, and the other 2 are more like Christmas in July, like I believe.
Christmas in Toyland, and shout out Vortex Productions, is the same production company that shot Baking All the Way.
Okay.
So
connection. Yeah,
and shot in Hamilton, where a lot of MOWs shoot. Like, it's MOW capital of Ontario for sure, that or Almont. So yeah, I'm connected to both of them, and I hope everyone watches both of them. Obviously, and the third one too. I'm not hating. I just don't have personal connection to that one.
Jesse will be on next Monday, so we're
perfect. Good.
Yeah.
So there you go. We'll connect with right through there. So that's super fun. So Baking All the Way. Do you have a network for that one?
I've been told Lifetime. So
that's right.
Great. We'll look for that, because it's like everyone puts out their list. We'll get lists.
Yeah. I hope it airs this year. That's the plan.
That's super
exciting. I wanted to ask you about back to my grown-up Christmas list, and if you had a favorite costume, because I know that you're into fashion and vintage, and I was just wondering if you have a favorite that we can kind of keep our eyes out for.
Oh man,
if you can remember.
So I love clothes. I do. It's literally a passion for me. I feel like if like the entertainment industry didn't come calling, I'd be in fashion somewhere.
Yeah.
Definitely. I love vintage clothes. So I actually feel, and people always say this to me, like on set, like how I dress like in my real life and how I usually dress on set are usually like night and day. Like, I'm like a dirty hipster in my real life, in like a vintage tee and like baggy jeans and like a pair of fresh Nikes. Like, that's not how I dress on MOWs.
Right.
But I mean, that's amazing. I love it. I get to go to work and play dress up. So I actually have like numerous Tupperware bins of clothes that I've kind of collected along the way from MOWs, of just things that fit me really well and look at the camera. So I'm actually wearing a majority clothes that are mine.
Really?
My grown-up Christmas list. That's where I'm getting to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fun.
The gown wasn't mine. And it was lovely, but obviously shooting outside in negative was not so fun. But I'm actually, and again, hopefully it airs this year, I'm wearing, so the hero jacket that I wore in Baking All the Way, I actually wear in my grown-up Christmas list.
Okay.
So hopefully, this holiday season, when they're re-airing my grown-up Christmas list and they're Baking All the Way, you guys will see the same cream coat that I do love. It's gorgeous.
We'll have to do that. We'll have to do like a a fun edit.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
How does that happen where you're bringing your clothes? Is it something that because you know, we know the time crunch and the costumers have a lot of work to do. Do you just like bring some stuff and say like, hey, I have this. It fits. It looks good.
Usually wardrobe designers will say like, hey, if you have anything that you want or you think works for that MOW world, please bring it to the fitting. So, you know, I have a red coat as well in my like Tupperware of MOW clothes because in Christmas movies, usually they like, you know, a lot of red and a lot of green and a lot of cream. These three colors like reign supreme. So basically they're always like, oh, if you have anything green or red or cream. So when I wore the cream coat in Baking All the Way and I loved it, I was like, I told the wardrobe designer, I was like, I need that cream coat. Like, let me buy it, please. And so usually at the end of the movie, they'll either like let you buy things for like kind of like a fraction of what they paid it for, or, you know, depending on how much it costs, like they'll just, you know, give you a, you know, a blouse if they got it at, you know, I don't know, Winners or something, you know, Winners. We like, I'm trying to think of what Winners would be in the States, like a Ross.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have Ross, Julie?
No.
We don't either, but I've been to them because they have them in Maryland where my in-laws live.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, so growing up in Vancouver, since it's like so close to Seattle, like as soon as you get your license, like we would be going shopping in Seattle like every other weekend because at that time, you know, we didn't have Forever 21 yet in Canada. So like I remember beelining every other weekend to Forever 21 in my neon. That's right.
I spent way too many hours in a Forever 21 at one point in my life.
I mean, so Canada recently lost Forever 21, like they pulled out, but then I just heard that they are back now, but like through Hudson Bay, which would be like Nordstrom.
Okay, so like a department store, right?
Yeah, so there's like a section now of Forever 21 in this Canadian department store. I mean, it's tough, you know, we just don't have the people or the population, so you know, stores are like, oh, let's go to Canada, you know, it's so close, but like sadly, you know, big businesses like Target pulled out of Canada, and you're like, wait, what?
Right. So I couldn't even function without a Target. So
pardon?
I couldn't function without a Target.
I know. Well, we have Walmart, which is like.
No.
I know. The clothes are way better at Target. Sorry, Walmart, but they are.
It's true, but Walmart's been upping their game because I'm seeing it all over Instagram. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But like we used to even have like in Canada, we used to have Zellers, which is like Target as well. So we had like more options, and now like Zellers obviously like doesn't exist anymore. So, but yeah, I could talk about clothes and shopping all day.
That's why you vintage shop, probably.
I love vintage shopping. It's like, it makes me so happy.
So what's your favorite piece of vintage clothing that you have?
Woo, that's a tough one. So my heart is in like the 80s and 90s in terms of like clothes. Like this is like an 80s dress.
Yeah.
So I love that. So I look for.
Oh, you broke out, Julie. What'd you say?
You owned it? You owned a dress like it?
Or a top that looked very similar to that at one point.
I love like 80s leather coats. That's like my big addiction. I've got like 20, like honestly, I've got 20, like kind of cropped, like shoulder.
You have like with the shoulder pads.
Yes, all about the shoulder pads.
Do you have any members only coats?
I don't, but I have, and my husband has one.
It'd probably fit you.
Members, oh my God, I'll send you my address. Members only is, I know exactly.
My gosh, like everyone wore it. I'll show my age now. You know, I went to high school and college in the 80s. So I believe I have an actual brand name members only jacket hanging.
I have no idea what it means. So
it was the thing to have.
It was like, they're kind of like casual bomber coats.
Yeah.
That's how I would like describe them. And they had like one specific style that was like very popular in the 80s. So yeah, 80s and 90s.
I recognize it if I saw it. You know,
maybe
they're popular.
Maybe I had a blue one too. Maybe maybe my dad brought me one from New York.
Oh, I love that. I love that for you. I love also finding like designer. Like I've scored Like
Mhm.
it's like either I'm buying like a $5 thrifted shirt or I'm spending like money on my favorite higher end designers.
Yeah.
So like when I can find like a high end designer that I love, like Isabel Marant is one of my favorite designers. I found Isabel Marant jeans. I found Isabel Marant shoes. I found some crazy. I love Mugler as well. He's like a higher end designer. He's actually very much back right now. So he was very, very popular in like the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Then like his kind of, I'd say his popularity kind of dipped. And then in the last couple of years, he's like had a huge resurgence. But I love like his 80s and 90s silhouettes. And I found like the bombest Mugler blazer in a Value Village in Vancouver for $9. And I was like, I could literally resell that for over a G on eBay. And I was like, oh yeah, it's like top tier designer situations. And I love it. I'm never selling it.
Rush when you get something for $9 that you know is like,
I mean, like anything for $9. Yeah.
Oh yes. So yeah, I love clothes. I
mean,
them.
do you just have like a really awesome secondhand store, or does it take you a long time to like kind of hunt these down? Are you searching in lots of places?
I search in lots of places. I mean, my favorite is to go thrifting, oddly, like in like smaller cities, like especially when I'm filming, like Ottawa, oddly, has amazing Value Villages. So one of my like perks of always going to Ottawa and shooting is like, oh my God, I cannot wait. Value Villages in Ottawa, because they honestly, I found so much good stuff. I actually found the Isabel Marant shoes for $6 because they didn't know that they, and literally I resell them for hundreds of dollars on
because they don't know, so they're just in there with
and obviously like Isabel Marant isn't like a Gucci or a Versace, like these are like top tier like high-end brands that like everyone knows the name, but like these like smaller higher end brands, like no one at Value Village is going to know who Isabel Marant is. In Ottawa, I do think in Toronto they have been jacking the prices on like certain.
They're catching on.
They're catching on for sure. But so I love clothes.
Would you ever consider like going into costume designing? Like,
I have definitely thought about like designing some clothes. I probably wouldn't do costume design because it's like, you're fulfilling the story, where for me it's more about like creating something new. So I actually feel like maybe one day, like when I'm like way older and, maybe people don't want to book me anymore, I'll open like a cute little vintage store somewhere with just like all of my amazing finds.
I love that. I love all your different passions.
I love seeing all those vintage pieces. We'll come visit you.
Okay. Well, and I'm waiting for my members only jacket. I'll send you my address.
I'll go check my closet because I'm pretty sure it was in. I actually think it's in our dress up bin. Because
do you still have a dress up bin?
When you have theater kids at your house.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
100%. We had a dress up bin too as kids, for sure.
Oh no, the bin is still there, man. My son.
I know, but her kids are all in their 20s, married. Out of the house.
Are they
the choir and theater teacher, and he's raiding the dress up bin still. He recently raided the bin again. So
I love it.
It's mostly junk anyways, let's be honest. So
if it brings some joy.
Right. Whatever. Well, and then he was pulling pieces for their production. So, right. For whatever they're doing. He teaches at a very large high school. So every now, I think he got his he has like a set, a sword too, or like just all that kind of stuff, right?
I love it.
Needs a sword for theater. Just down in the up bin.
That's the joy of theater. It's like anything goes, like depending on like what you're doing or what play or musical you're doing, like you could have like the craziest things and it just makes sense.
Right.
I love this new fun fact I just learned about you, Julie. So that's really fun.
What, that there's a dress up bin downstairs?
Right. Well, because I was just laughing because my daughter is 12 and her friend that they've grown up since they were babies together came over, and I just went upstairs to her room and like her dress up bin is all over her floor, and I don't think she's touched that.
Oh, it'll get worse
forever. But they're really into like being nostalgic now, so they'll like watch Frozen or like Barbie movies because that's what they used to do. So something was happening up there with like, the princess dresses.
Oh, no. No. You got to keep the dress up then, right?
That's amazing that she still wants to put on that dress.
Yeah, I mean, they must have been doing something silly because they don't normally. She's over
there.
that, right?
Okay.
Ours came back
Mel?
my kids hit.
She's like a big girl.
She
like
is now. Yeah, all of a sudden, this happened last week.
Yes. I mean,
I thought over and I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, big.
Yeah.
Teenager almost. Crazy.
That is crazy. Hey, we should do just a couple of this or that questions.
Yeah.
To get to know better. So are you winter or summer? Mountains or beach? Let's do that. Mountains or beach?
Oh, beach and summer.
Okay. Completely warm.
Yes.
What about wine or beer?
I mean, wine.
How about Netflix and stay in or a good movie theater?
I'm a Netflix and chill kind of girl. Like
Okay.
a good, like if I come home and Ish is like got my favorite takeout and he's got like a movie ready for us to watch and maybe my favorite glass of wine, I'm like, oh, you love me. And I love that.
I'm there with you. If also my dinner can be taken care of also.
So
yeah, sign me up for that.
Yes.
What about cook at home or go out for dinner?
I like going out. I mean, going out for dinner is always fun, but I do enjoy cooking. I do. I can throw down when I apply myself.
Oh, what do you like to throw down?
Well, I was raised mostly on like Chinese food, so I usually just air into an Asian stir fry of some sort that, I love, just like chicken and rice. I know that sounds so basic, but like
delicious.
But it's yummy. Yeah.
Like a good black bean sauce with like veggies and chicken with then like white rice is like my happy place.
That's a regular, that's how it smells I work in a pharmacy and that's how my pharmacy little eating area smells all the time. Some amazing Asian cooks in there and it's like, it smells so good. Like I can just smell it right now.
Yeah, it's definitely my comfort food, like Chinese food. And then we did have German food growing up. So like oddly, like I do really enjoy like, a good like potatoes and sausage situation. Like it does remind me of my childhood and, really well done like homemade sausage.
Yeah.
I love that. It's fun. Now I've been asking everybody if they have a favorite like holiday movie. What do you watch every year to kind of get you in that spirit?
Wow. Well, my favorite Christmas movie of all time, I would say, is Elf. I love Elf.
Yeah.
It's just, I watch it every year and I love it. And it's just favorite Christmas movie every year is Home Alone. So we always watch Elf and Home Alone every Christmas. So it's like, it's not Christmas without those two movies.
Classics.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite Christmas song?
Ooh, oddly, I do like my grown-up Christmas list. It's actually one of in my top 5, but the version that Monica sang.
Oh.
I don't know if you remember Monica. She's from the 90s, like R&B.
Yeah, I know Monica.
Yeah, she put out my grown-up Christmas
list. That.
I need to look for that now.
Yeah. Now I need to listen.
Amy Grant, obviously.
Right,
classic as
right.
well. But like R&B is kind of like my favorite type of music, so I usually gravitate to, like I love like the Boyz II Men Christmas album and like the TLC Christmas album. Like these are the albums I usually put on every Christmas.
Right. For a long time, one of my favorite songs was the Monica Brandy duet.
A Boy's Mine.
Yeah, that was always a fun one. Actually, that's something I'd probably do for karaoke.
Oh my God, it's great.
And I don't
give it up.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so my grown-up Christmas list by Monica. That's your favorite song. Love it.
I love it. Yes, I do love it. And obviously my new Christmas song.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be in your baking movie. So we will feature that when that comes out. We will look for that for sure.
Yeah. I know. I love using songs. Yeah.
Yes, it's called Suddenly Feels Like Christmas. So I've never even said that out. I don't think I've ever put that out. Yeah, it's called Suddenly Feels Like Christmas.
Oh, that's exciting.
That gets released so that we can pull that in on like Instagram too.
Yeah.
stories.
Hey, I will send it to you when I'm allowed to send it to you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that'd be great. Because we'll pull in everybody's songs when we're running through. Sarah just ran Wes Brown's songs through our Insta stories today because it was whatever. She decided it was Wes Brown Day.
It was Wes Brown Day, yes. And playing Christmas music in July. I'm not typically a Christmas in July person, so I'm trying to get in the spirit.
Trying to get there. I know. I mean, it is weird when it's like super hot outside, but it's fun. It feels good.
Fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. My mom calls MOWs romance novels. So she's like, "Oh, you booked another romance novel?"
Love that.
That's cute.
Love that.
I love it too.
Like, really? I mean,
yeah.
Well,
it's
sort of. Romance novels are just a little bit more spicy than a Hallmark or a movie of the week.
Maybe that's a genre we need to like.
I've got some right back here.
Called Hallmark After Dark.
Yes, Hallmark After Dark. That's our
extra sexy rom-com. I'm into
I'm
it.
always like, let's just get them to like PG-13, like just a little.
For sure.
Give us a little.
I'm into
more.
it. I am into it.
All right. 3 words to describe my grown-up Christmas list.
Oh, it's so cute. So cute.
Okay.
Romantic.
Mm-hmm.
And snowfall.
Okay.
Right. You've got some real snowfall, which is
there's one scene, I'm not in it, but like they literally had a snowstorm and they had shown me a clip of the footage the next day, and oh my gosh, it looked so beautiful. It's
I think the one Andrew dropped us a behind the scenes pic of that with Kayla walking on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And so we put that up already. It looks I'm very much interested in seeing how that looks, and I kind of like that there's more emotional depth to this movie from what I've heard. A little bit.
Obviously, because since they're a real couple, like nothing would really change. Like, they'd be like cut, and like they'd be like cute and talking, and they would even kiss off camera, like because they're together, and they're where like most of the time, the 1 and 2 aren't actually in love. So like they say cut, and they like go their separate ways, or even if they are talking, it's just a different dynamic because they're not romantic with each other.
Right.
So I'm wondering, this might be my first MOW where not my first one. I was like, is this my first MOW where the 1 and 2 were together? No, it's not. I lie.
You lied. Well, we'll be waiting for the MOW where the 1 and 2 are you and Ish.
Yes.
This will be that one for sure.
I am manifesting it, and we're
putting it out there in the universe.
Put it out there. Yeah. Get it to happen.
We've gone for a lot together. But
have you ever ended up in the same film?
So here's another fun hot tip. So in one of the MOWs we were both cast in, literally the only MOW we've ever been in together. I was the best friend of the lead, and he was like the love interest of the lead. So we both had like a lot of scenes with the same girl, but we never had scenes together. We had one scene together. We had one scene together, and it was like the final scene where like everything is good, and the world. It was a thriller, so it was like the world will go on happily. But we didn't even have any like lines together.
That's funny how it works. Yeah.
But I'm throwing it out there. You two as the 1 and 2. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
I mean, I'm gonna make it happen.
We'll excessively promote it.
I'm a grinder. I'm a hustler. I'm gonna make it happen. I've been actually like dipping my toes into like writing MOWs.
Yes.
I feel like that's like another next step for me. And one of the ones I'm writing definitely has, me as 1 and Ish as 2. So
good.
We're here for
absolutely. We're here for that.
If the opportunities aren't there, you got to make them for yourself. I'm telling you.
I love that.
Either we vote yes. So
I vote yes too.
Right.
Vote yes. Well, Cory, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing about all of your passions. We love chatting with you. We're so excited for Saturday's movie, so we'll be watching and tweeting. Will you be tweeting at all?
Yeah, I'm gonna tweet. I'll be there.
We'll be on.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're so excited, and come back closer to Christmas.
I would love to. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hang on
Absolutely.
here with us for a minute after Catherine takes us out, and we'll see you, everybody. Bye.
Bye, everybody.